This week's reading mentions the death of one of our greatest leaders of all time, Miriam. She was a prophetess in her own right, in addition to being the sister of two of the other greatest leaders of all time, Aaron and Moshe. Immediately after that, after the Torah recounts her death, it says that the people didn't have water to drink. And the sages learned from this that the fact that they had water in the desert was in her merit. So when she died, the water dried up. Okay. And famously, the people didn't have water, they complained. God says to Moshe, go talk to a rock, and the rock will give forth water. Moshe gets angry with the people, screams at them, and whacks the rock with his staff twice. And therefore he is punished that he is not allowed to enter the land of Israel. Right? Wrong. Surprisingly, I've never heard anyone else notice this, and it seems to me an obvious connection. Moshe's sister had just died. He wasn't in a great place. Now we have to bear in mind that these people have been whingers non-stop for the entire trip through the desert. And he says all sorts of things. He says to God, I can't deal with them. He says to God, I'm not their mother. He says to God, I can't manage on my own. He says to God, I need help. He says to God, if you really love me, kill me so I don't have to deal with them. But never once does he yell at them. He doesn't take out his anger on the people. Until now. He says, it says explicitly, Shimon Hamorim, listen up, rebellious ones. And then he loses it. In his anger, he hits the rock. So he's punished for hitting the rock. And his punishment is that he can't enter the land of Israel. Now we always say that God does what we call midah keneged midah, right? Measure for measure, as they say in English, or karma, as our dharmic brethren would say. God punishes measure for measure, or in a sense it's poetic justice in the world. What's the connection? He hits a rock instead of speaking to it, and therefore he can't go into the land of Israel? Notably, the Torah never says, you cannot go into the land of Israel. Not here, anyway. It says, Lo tavi et ha'am hazeh. You will not bring this people into the land. Okay, that's usually just understood as you won't go into the land of Israel. I find there's an intrinsic difference. You will not bring these people into the land. Meaning what? Meaning, until now, you've been a good leader, you've been long-suffering, and you've complained to me about the situation. You've asked for help, as a good leader should. You've struggled, you've complained privately about it. But until now, you've never taken it out on the people. If you're a leader, you cannot do that. You need to be strong, at least publicly. Take solace with your wife, take solace with God, take solace with your confidant. But you cannot take it out on the people. Clearly, it's a difficult situation for you. Moshe's sister had just died, and no one ever makes that connection. That's why they didn't have water. Miriam had just died. That was his sister. The woman who has been with him, literally, close to 120 years. She's the one who kept watch over him as he was in a basket on the Nile River to make sure that he was safe. She was probably his closest confidant, and he lost her. And he was in a tough situation. So, he lost control. As I said, you take solace in your confidant, right? But he didn't have her anymore. What's he meant to do? So he can't keep control. At which point God says to Moshe, thank you for your years of service, but it's time for you to retire. You are not capable of being the leader anymore. It's not really a punishment, so much as a consequence. The strain has got to you. You're no longer able to keep a lid on it. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's very difficult. But if you want to be in a leadership position, it's something you have to do. And you can't anymore. So you need to take a break. You cannot bring these people into the land. You are not fit to be their leader anymore. Therefore, Yehoshua will take them in. Okay, so he couldn't bring the people, but hey, how about Moshe just goes as a leader? Let's be honest, no one is ever going to take Yehoshua seriously as long as Moshe is there. Right? However great a rabbi I may ever become, if Moshe Rabbeinu is living next door, you're not going to come to talk to me. Right? That's just the way things are. Yehoshua will never be taken seriously as long as Moshe is around. So, if you can't lead them, you can't go with them either. For the sake of national unity, Moshe had to die outside the land of Israel and not accompany them in. Which is unfortunate, but Moshe genuinely cared about his people, so I'd imagine he figured that was the right decision. That he not go in at all. If I'm not going to be the leader, it's better if I don't go at all. Wasn't happy about it. Wish there could be another way. But that's the situation. He was hoping to be restored to his position. God said, no, you can't. You just can't do it. And I can't subject the people to this sort of leadership approach. Keep your cool and maintain control. Be upstanding, because when you're a leader, you have to be, in a sense, superhuman. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard than the average person. You can't react to things that would fluster a normal person. You can't react to things that would fluster even a super patient person. You have to be above that. And does it sound like we're asking too much? No. Because here's the thing, you don't have to be in a leadership position. If you wish to be, these are the criteria. And if you don't think you can manage that, that's fine. Not everybody has to be the head of a country. But if you're going to be, you need to keep tabs on everything. You need to maintain control. And you need to understand that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're always going to make somebody angry. That's just the way it is. Because you can't please everyone all the time. But keep a lid on it if that's what you want. Poor Moshe. He just couldn't manage anymore. He was a great man, but every person has his place, and the fact that he was no longer a leader didn't mean that he was any less of a person. And always remember that every person, no matter the position, the leader or the follower, the highest or the lowest, if you can even quantify such things as high and low, everyone has a place, and everyone has intrinsic value. Keep that in mind. Remember that you have value as well. Shabbat Shalom.